Hi there, gang. Welcome to this boot camp module. Today, we're going to spend our time talking about the price list manager. So there's other things that we're going to talk through. The price list manager encompasses the mobile accessories and labor price list. We'll spend a little bit of time talking about local price list and tax groups, but where we're going to focus the bulk of our time today is going to be on the price list manager and on the mobile accessories and labor price list. So let's dive right in. What is the price list manager? Well, when you write a proposal, there is a database that the system accesses. So when you're on the tablet and you're writing a proposal, the tablet has to communicate with the database to get all of your prices. So I'm going to provide this hardwood and this underlayment, and we've got a labor price to install it and a labor price to remove stuff, and we're going to put trim down and put transitions down. And each one of those things, each one of those costs are stored in the database. And that database is the price list manager. So it is truly a database where vendor pricing, corporate pricing, local prices, they're stored, they're managed. It's a database. I'll just leave it at that. How do you get there? In Salesforce, I will show you how to get to the important links page. And from the important links page, there's a big button that says Price List Manager, and that's going to take you to your Price List Manager database. When you click on that, you'll see something that looks like this. The product catalog shows up here, and then you've got margin by product and a bunch of other things. Here in a moment, I'm going to jump over to Salesforce and show you this in sort of a live demo. But for the moment, we'll just stay here. Types of price lists. So there's three basic types of price lists. There's a vendor price list, a corporate price list, and a local price list. Vendor price list is exactly what it sounds like. These are price lists that come in from our vendors. So whether that's Shaw or IMSR or AHF or any of the other vendors that we have national accounts with or national programs set up with, those are accounts that are going to come in through our IT resources, and they're going to be implemented in your price list manager for you. There are corporate price lists. Now, a corporate price list is sort of a placeholder. I'm going to spend a little bit more time talking about that one. So for now, let's skip it. And then there's a local price list. Now, a local price list is 100% in your control. So let's just say that in your area, maybe you're in an area that does a lot of tile, and for whatever reason, you're not happy with the IMSR tile selection, or you feel like you want another tile supplier or whatever. That's great. So you can go out and you can find I'm making this up, Jake's Tile Company. And you can set up an account with Jake's Tile Company, but you don't have any pricing in your tablet for Jake's Tile Company. So you would create a local price list, and that would be your responsibility to manage those prices and to keep that up to date as Jake might happen to, take prices up or down. It's not as common for somebody to set up a big vendor like that, but it's very common for you to set up a local price list for things like labor minimums or for different types of trim, different sizes of baseboards or whatever. So again, we'll get into more details on that for right now. Just know vendor price lists or price lists that come in from our suppliers. Those are only the suppliers that we have national accounts with, not any local supplier that you might come up with. The corporate price list is sort of a placeholder, and local price list is something that you have 100% control over. So let's think about a vendor price list for just a minute. Vendor price list, these are our vendor partners. So these are partners like Shaw and AHF, Mohawk and IMSR. These are companies where we have national accounts set up. They're negotiated prices, and there's two ways that these price lists get updated. So electronic data interchange is simply a way for a company to send a massive amount of data electronically to another company and do it in sort of a real-time basis. There are three companies that operate that way with us: IMSR, Shaw, and Mohawk. Now, this is very important, and I'm going to slow down my speech here for emphasis. Those three companies work on EDI based on your individual account number. So when you set up your account with Shaw, for example, you're going to get an account number with Shaw, account number 12345. When you get that account number, it is absolutely imperative that you send that account number to our IT group so that our IT group can connect the dots between us and Shaw, and the EDI can start flowing for you. If our IT group does not have your account number for Shaw, for Ems, or for Mohawk, you're not going to have pricing in your tablet for that. So it is absolutely imperative as soon as you get, the minute you get those 3 account numbers, and don't wait for all 3 of them, you can do them one at a time. As soon as you get the account numbers for Shaw, for Ems, or for Mohawk, you need to send those to our IT group so that that EDI bridge can be established. Now, the really nice thing about that EDI bridge is as those suppliers have a price increase or a price decrease, it is, I mean, it's within minutes that now all of a sudden your price list is up to date, and the next time you sync your tablet is up to date. The other ones where we have national accounts, those are updated through spreadsheets, let's say. The vendor sends a big spreadsheet over to our IT group, and our IT group uploads a spreadsheet into everybody's price list manager. It's a little more sophisticated than that, but that's a close enough approximation to what happens. In a vendor price list, you are not allowed to modify descriptions. You're not allowed to modify the cost or the price. You're not allowed to modify the SKU number. These are price lists that are coming in from our vendors. You don't get the access to be able to go in and just change a bunch of stuff. The only thing you can change on a vendor price list is your margin. So if you decide that you don't want to sell at a 50-point margin, instead you want to sell at a 60-point margin or a 40-point margin or whatever it is, you do have the capability and the responsibility of maintaining your margin, but you don't have access to do anything else with those. What about a corporate price list? Well, corporate price list, this is placeholder pricing. So by placeholder pricing, I mean that, let's take, for example, a labor price. What are you going to pay your installer to install carpet? Well, there's nobody at corporate that can answer that question for you. You have to meet with your carpet installer. You and your carpet installer have to come to an agreement on what you're going to pay. Are you going to pay them $4 a square yard? Are you going to pay them $5 a square yard, $4.50, $4.25? What is the right number? When you establish what that number is, you will go into this particular price list, the mobile accessories and labor price list, and you will maintain that price. So if you've agreed with your carpet installer, I'm going to pay you $4.50 a square yard to install carpet, then you would go into your mobile accessories and labor price list, and under the line that says carpet installation, you would put $4.50. So now you have $4.50 as the cost. You also have the ability to maintain your margin. So if you decide that $4.50 is the right number for your cost, and I'm going to sell that at a 48% margin, okay, those are the 2 fields that you have the ability to influence. So I slow down again. You cannot update the SKU number. You cannot update the description. You cannot add items to this price list. You cannot take items away from this price list. The only thing you can do with this price list, with the mobile accessories and labor price list, you've got 2 fields that you can influence. You can maintain the cost, and you must maintain the cost, and your margin. Those are the only 2 fields. What about, so let's take a look at this. Now, I'll look at it on the screen here. And like I said, we're going to go into Salesforce momentarily, and we're going to do more of a live demo. But for example, appliance move. So what is your installer going to charge you to move an appliance? So move a dishwasher, move a stove, move a refrigerator, move a washer, dryer. Okay. So you're going to have a number. What is that number? In this example, and this is only an example, this installer is charging $40. So your cost field says $40. You've decided, or whoever's price list this is, has decided that a 50-point margin sounds like a great idea for that. So when this flushes through in the tablet, it's going to charge the customer $80 for that move. No problem. You've got a $40 cost. You've got a 50-point margin. These are the 2 columns that you can maintain. You cannot change the SKU number. You cannot change the description here. So you might decide, hey, wait a minute, I don't really want this to be called basic refinishing. I want to call it something else. I don't really want this is basic 2 in 1 underlayment. I don't want it to say basic 21. I want it to say basic 2 in 1. Too bad. The name you can't change. So no changing of the SKU, no changing of the name, no changing of the unit of measure. you can influence the cost and the margin, and only those two fields in the mobile accessories and labor price list. A local price list, which we will not spend a lot of time on today, but a local price list, now you have the ability to do whatever you want to. So they're your vendors, your product, your sundries, your services, your pricing. If you decide that you want to become a baseboard king or queen, and so you're going to offer 3-inch baseboards, 5-inch baseboards, 9-inch baseboard. Okay, great. You can have a price list for baseboards, and you can load it with all sorts of different things. You might have that Jake's Tile service. Great. Load up all you want to with Jake's Tile. In that case, you absolutely can set the SKU number. You can change the description. You can put the unit of measure at whatever unit of measure is appropriate for that product. So local price list gives you all that freedom. So if you're on your mobile accessories and labor price list and you're like, you know what, it would be really cool to add something. Okay, then add it in a local price list. You can't add it to the mobile accessories and labor price list, but you can absolutely add it to your local price list. And I will show you where to find these instructional videos as well. So for the moment, let's get out of this, and we're going to dive into Salesforce, and I'll show you where you can find all this stuff. So I'm in Salesforce. I'm on the franchise owner app page. We don't need these things, so we can close those. We've got the franchise owner app page here, and if I hit my drop down, I can scroll down to where it says important links all the way here at the bottom. So I'm going to click on important links. And as soon as I do that, this pops up, and I've got 6 important links down here, and I want to go to the price list manager. Now it's going to open up a page for you to log in. I've already logged in, and I've got this tab open over here. And I'm actually looking at, a franchisee's list. So I don't have a list, but I'm looking at one of our franchisees' lists. So you'll notice when you look at this, at the beginning, you've got the corporate product catalog. So this is like a product selector. You really can't influence this, but this gives you really, really good information. We'll spend more time on this later. If you click on it today and you say, wait a minute, I don't have any carpet. Well, it's probably because you don't have a Shaw account number yet. And most of your carpet comes from Shaw. So until you have that Shaw account number, you're not going to have anything up here. So let's just scroll all the way down to where it says price lists. And here we see a whole list of companies that have been set up. So all of these that say US AHF, US Bella, US Cali, US CTEC, these are all price lists that the IT group is managing for this franchisee. You'll notice though that there's some others that are not being, well, and Shaw as well. But for example, Pergo. Well, Pergo is not somebody that we have a national account with. This is a price list that this particular franchisee set up. So my guess, and I haven't talked to them to see, but my guess is that they got a spreadsheet from whoever their supplier is, and they formatted it in the right format and uploaded it as a local price list. There's no problem. It just means that this particular franchisee has to manage this. Okay, great. No problem whatsoever. The Shaw one is this is one of the ones that comes in through EDI. So when I open this up, you can see all the different products. You can see it by product type. So let's look at carpet, for example. So here's a bunch of different carpets that are out here. Okay. So quiz question for you. If this franchisee wanted to change something, knowing that Shaw is a vendor price list, and it happens to be an EDI price list, could they change the description here? No, they can't. Could they change the SKU? Nope. Could they change their cost? Nope. Could they change their margin? Absolutely. They can absolutely change their margins. And you'll notice there's an easy way to do that. If I click here, and I'll be careful not to actually change it, you can slide this back and forth, and you can come up with a margin number, or just key a number in and hit the save button, and it'll save a new margin number. Let's take a look at the mobile accessories and labor price list, though. This is the one that you're going to spend the most time on. So the price lists that come in from vendors and the price lists, whether they're EDI or whatever, you're not going to spend a lot of time with those. Set the margin whenever you want to. But the mobile accessories and labor price list is something that you're gonna work on really, really hard before you open the business. And then it's something that you're going to continue to work on over and over and over again. This is not a static list. This is a list that you absolutely have to maintain. So how do I maintain it? Well, first, I will show you how you do not maintain it. So I know that if you click on this line, you have a pop-up box that shows up, and it looks like in the pop-up box that you could change the cost and hit update and it would change it. And it actually will change it on this screen, but it does not actually change it in the database. So be careful here. The only way to change these numbers is to download it to a CSV file and then fix it where you want it there and then re-upload it. Okay, so let's do that. I'm going to download this. And once this is downloaded, I can open this up. And here it comes. And so you'll see this is how it downloads. Now things are being added from time to time, so that's why this one's blank. This franchisee simply hasn't added a number in here. But I will show you that you've got a whole list of things. Let's see how many there are now. There are 100 items. If I take out the title, there's 100 items that you need to go in and you need to update. And you need to update them before you open. So this becomes tricky because you've got to meet with installers. You've got to figure out where you're going to source some of this stuff. And you're going to have to figure out numbers that are at least close enough to get you in the ballpark when you first open. I will tell you that this list is, it's alphabetical by SKU number, but that's not really helpful. So I'm providing for you a list where I've gone in and I've categorized these. So they may still be alphabetical, they may not be, that's okay. But I've got these here for you so that they're in categories and with a little bit of information around where you could find them. For example, you could say, I'm going to go talk to a hardwood installer, so I want to find out everything there is to know about hardwood. Okay, great. So I'm going to click on that. Now I've got, okay, hardwood adhesive. Where am I going to get that from? I'm going to buy that from the manufacturer that sells the flooring. So I could contact Shaw or AHF. When you meet with your sales rep, ask them what is the right adhesive to use and how much is it? And then you can plug that number in. When you talk to your installers, okay, how much does it cost to install this if it's a glue down? If you have to do a pattern, if you're going to nail or staple it, or if you're going to nail or staple it in a pattern. And you'll notice that there's different prices for each of those. What is, standard hardwood underlayment? Well, if you've never done flooring before, you don't know what that means. It's either going to be a 15-pound roofing felt, or it's going to be a material like an Aquabar, which you can source locally. Now, 8 cents a square foot is the right number for that. I mean, if you go and even at full retail, go to a Home Depot and look at how much is roofing felt or how much is Aquabar, do the math. I mean, they're going to sell it to you in a 400 or 500 square foot roll. Do the math to see what it comes out to per square foot, and you're going to see it's probably about 8 cents. So that number actually makes sense to me. Most of these numbers actually make sense to me. So you can do this with each one of these. You can say, you know what, I'm going to go meet with a carpet guy. So let's look at everything that has to do with carpet, and maybe we're going to look at carpet stairs. Okay. So once again, there's a lot of local labor or local suppliers. Carpet adhesive, good. I can talk to a local supplier. Local labor, what does this mean? Box, stair, carpet install. We'll get into some of that later. But I look and say, what does a standard carpet install look like? Well, in this case, I've got this coded that a standard carpet install is going to be $5 a square yard. So there's my unit of measure, and my cost, $5 per square yard. And that's just a regular carpet. So I'm going to provide this list to you, and you're welcome to update this list. Just be sure that you compare it to the list that you download, because ultimately what you're going to have to send back up to Salesforce, or excuse me, to your price list manager is going to be in this format. So you'll notice I haven't changed the format. I just added 2 columns. So what I'm going to recommend that you do is save it twice. Save it once like this, and then change the name, and save it again as a CSV file, but remove these two columns so that it'll actually upload. Okay, so how am I going to upload it? Well, let's go back into here. After I've made all my changes, I'm going to simply click on this upload button, choose the file and hit upload, and it'll pop right in here. If you've added lines, if you've changed descriptions, if you've changed SKU numbers, if you've taken lines away, if you've added columns, it may not upload. It may simply fail. So once again, if you do decide to use the version that I'm sending you, that's great, but be sure that you compare it to the one that you downloaded and make sure that there's not something else that's changed here. If there is, you will need to put your numbers in this one, the one that you downloaded. All right, so let's jump out of that. That's your mobile accessories and labor price list. And this is where you will absolutely spend the bulk of your time. I want to pause for just a moment. I'm going to switch over to the tablet and rejoin you. All right, so I've pulled up my tablet here on the screen, and I just want to point a couple of things out to you. We'll get into building these rooms and all this stuff. Don't worry about that. But I just want to show you, when I go in and look at the proposal that I've written. So this first proposal that I've done, I've created a hardwood proposal. And you'll see the very first line in this proposal, it says restoration scrape. All right, that happens to be a product that comes from AHF. So that means that this cost, this $3.62 cost that you see under the cost column, $3.62 cost, that is something that is feeding from AHF. Now, AHF is not one of the EDI ones, so that's one that's coming over like in a spreadsheet that's being uploaded. But if, as a franchise owner, I'm not touching that. This is purely an IT thing where they upload that number for me. All right, standard hardwood underlayment. Okay, well, that 25-cent cost, that's in the mobile accessories and labor price list. New quarter round, that's in the mobile accessories and labor price list. The transition strip, the hard surface freight, the cost to install it, the furniture move cost, the removal and haul away, the installing of the quarter round, and the install of the transition. Every other one of these is coming from that mobile accessories and labor price list. As a matter of fact, when you look at the code, which is the second column over, so restoration scrape has this RESEA grape. Standard hardwood underlayment starts with an MOB. New quarter round starts with an MOB. Every one of these that starts with MOB come out of that mobile accessories and labor price list. So when you look at this proposal, there is only one line, even though Floor Coverings International is managing hundreds of thousands of lines of data for you from Emser, from Shaw, from all these different suppliers. When you look at a proposal like this, I mean, look at where the money is. Yes, there's money in the product, but let's see, there's one line that came from the Floor Coverings International stuff. How many mobile accessories and labor ones came? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, so we've got 10 lines here. One of them is managed for you, and the other 9 you have to manage in the mobile accessories and labor price list. So what's my point? My point is that even though there's hundreds of thousands of lines of data that Floor Coverings International is managing for you around the products, when you look at a proposal, 90% of the lines are going to come out of the mobile accessories and labor price list. That MOB list is incredibly important, and it has a huge determinant. It's a huge determinant into whether or not you're competitive. So this is something that you absolutely have to spend time with. And updating your mobile price list, your MOB price list, it's not a one-time thing. You're going to do it once, and maybe, I'm not going to say on a weekly basis, but especially in the beginning, as you're learning more, you're using different installers, you're going to end up going back into this MOB list multiple times and making adjustments to it. Okay. And then even years down the road, you'll still be going in and making little tweaks to it from time to time. This happens to be a hardwood proposal. If I go back, I also did an LVP proposal. Let's see what that one looks like. So I've got Stokeman Plus, that's my product. And then everything else, quarter round, transition strips, freight, floating floor, standard furniture removal, and everything else is MOB. So it's the same sort of thing. 80 or 90% of this proposal comes directly from the MOB list. That's why it's so important, so vitally important that you maintain this list. All right, so now I've switched back over to Salesforce here. And so we can see this mobile accessories and labor price list. These are the 100 items. And just as a quick review, you're going to download it here, go into Excel, update your costs as you're talking to installers, as you're talking to your sales reps, as you're searching for stuff locally. You're going to update those numbers and then hit the upload button and update this. It's vitally important that you do this. You are more than welcome to use the spreadsheet that I am providing for you as a way of figuring out what stuff is. But just know that this list does change from time to time. And so you'll want to keep yourself up to date on the changes and make sure that you actually are putting numbers in where they belong. Okay, you know what? You've watched the video, you're convinced that this is important. Where do I get more information? Well, there is a website, and it's fciit.com. It is a very powerful website. So when you go to fciit.com, this is what's going to pop up. And you can search for price lists. Pops up pretty quick, Price List Manager tutorials. If, for example, you want to go in and see how to do something, but you don't want to watch through this video because it's a longer video, that's great. You can come in here, and the IT group has put together little short videos, like how do I navigate the Price List Manager? It is 1.5 minutes long. There's another 3.5 minute one. How do I edit margins? 59 seconds. So with 1 minute, you can figure out how to edit. How do I edit margins by supplier? 1 minute. Good. How do I modify the mobile accessories and labor price list? Great. It's a 39-second video showing you how to download and re-upload. Okay. So this is a great resource for you, the Price List Manager tutorials on fciit.com. You will also note that this is where you're going to go to find how to manage local price lists. So if I search for local price list or local price, either way, so let's see, local price list management. Perfect. So I'm going to come in here and click on my local price list manager. And exactly how do I deal with that? And there's a whole list here. How do you create a new local price list? How do you fill out the template? How do you update it? How do you do? And it's all right here. I'm not going to go through it right now. I find that people that doing the local price list, people are much more comfortable doing that after they've been in the field for a little while. There are step-by-step instructions here. The only thing that I will tell you is that everything in this local price list, when you're filling these things out, it is case sensitive and it is very precise. So for example, if you're trying to add a tile, we said tile, if I go in and put tile, but I use a lowercase t, it will not take it. So when you go through this, be very careful that it is extremely exact. I mean, that's spelled out here, but I'm just bringing it out to you. So all of the resources are here on fciit.com for how to create a local price list. And when you're ready to do that, then I would encourage you to drop by here and see exactly how that gets done. So there's one more topic that I want us to go through today, and that is tax groups. So I'm going to bounce back over to Salesforce. All right, I'm back in Salesforce. In order for me to show you the sales tax groups, I have to log in as one of the franchise owners. So I've done that. And Where do you maintain sales tax? So obviously, wherever it is that you're selling, the government is going to want their piece of the pie. And some areas have a simple, it's a 7% sales tax, and off you go. Some places the material is taxed, but the labor is not. That's pretty common. There is one state where the labor is also taxed. But in many places, it's the material tax is not just a single number. In many places, you've got a local tax for one county or one municipality and a different tax for a different one. Where I'm at, Lexington County is 7%, Richland County is 8%. When you look in Atlanta, there's different areas that have energy taxes, 1 cent, penny tax for the roads, penny tax for the libraries, whatever. And so you can do all of that in Salesforce. It's not a problem, and I'm going to show you how to do that. That is controlled on your branch page. So we have to figure out how to find your branch page. If you come up here and type in your branch name, which is normally your last name, or it might be your last name with an underscore first initial. In this case, I'm looking at the Harrington branch. Now, I'm just going to put in Harrington, and even though it popped up down here, I'm not going to select it. I'm going to hit Harrington up here and hit enter. And it's going to give me a search. It's going to give me a Harrington search. And you'll notice down here, there's one that says branches, or I can get to it down here. So you'll see, like in this case, it's Harrington underscore C. That's the name of this branch. So I'm going to click on the branch name. If I were Carly Harrington, this would be my branch. So I'm going to scroll down on my branch page. And over here on the right-hand side, you'll see tax groups. Now they have more than 3. So let's take a look at all of them. I'm going to click on view all. And we've got, there's only 4. All right, there's an all product, all labor, tech cert. So let's just click on the all product for a moment. And you'll see that inside all product, it says 8.9%. So apparently they're in an area where product is simply taxed at 8.9%. I can close that. Let's take a look at their labor. Labor has 0 tax, and you'll notice that there's 0 as a labor tax group. So what if you needed to create a new one? Maybe maybe in your area, 8.9% is great most of the time, but then there's other times when it's not. How would I create a new one? It's very simple. This is the easiest thing to do. Come up here and hit new and give it a name. So this is tax group. I'm not going to save this anyway. Tax group 1. Or maybe you put in it's for a particular zip code, 29072, whatever. And I can give it a number. So I take my sales tax plus my penny tax plus this tax. You know what? This happens to be a 9.5% tax area. If it's a labor tax, I'm going to click on labor. If it's not a labor tax, I'm going to take it off. And then I'm going to select it to the branch and hit save. Now, I'm not going to save it because I don't want to mess up somebody's branch. So I'm going to hit cancel, but this is how you would do it. It's very easy to create a tax group. And I would recommend that you create as few as possible. So if you've got multiple areas in your territory that have the same number, even if they're in different zip codes, that's fine. Maybe you consolidate all of your 7.5% or consolidate all of your 9% or whatever it is so that you don't have to have so many different tax groups. But this is where you would create them. So clearly, your homework becomes you've got to download your mobile accessories and labor price list so that you can start working on getting that up to date for your area. And you need to research what sales tax is going to look like in your area. All right, so we've looked at our vendor price lists. Excuse me, let's go back. We've looked at the types of price list, vendor price list, corporate price list, local price list. We've looked at, with the vendor price list, we know that there's 3 vendors that are updated by EDI where you absolutely have to send the vendor numbers to our IT group, and that's Emser, Shaw, and Mohawk. We've looked at corporate price list, and that's essentially, there's really just one big one, and that's the mobile accessories and labor price list, where you must maintain cost and margin, and those are the only things that you can maintain. And then, of course, you've got local price lists where you can do pretty much whatever you want to do with it, but go to fciit.com and search for local price lists to figure out the how on how you create them and how you maintain them. We talked about tax groups. There's product tax, labor tax. You know, you're going to take your state tax, county tax, city tax, add it all together and create, this is a combined tax number. And of course, you can have multiple tax groups as needed. I want to thank you for watching this. Thank you for going through it. I wish you well as you learn and as you begin this journey as a Floor Coverings International franchise.